Hello, and I finally figured out how to do my music somehow. I'll get it to fade out at some point. Right, welcome back to the Fanflight Podcast and my Jumpers to Follow mini-series. And we have the full team with us tonight. Rich came on for the episode 7. Joe's come for the final episode, of which we're going to talk about all things chasing and the graded chases, the open chases for the season to come. Boys, the jump season was back today at Punchestown. Some decent racing. Are you ready for the jump season, Rich?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's get stuck in.
GSI, what about you, Joe? I know you're obviously mega on the flat. I know you've enjoyed the flat, but the jumps is back.
No, like I say, I do enjoy the jumps. I think, obviously, I'm really trying to make an effort sort of this season coming up into getting more knowledge. So, yeah, it'll be a good one. I can't wait to get in and see your insight, really.
Well, that's it. We're all looking forward to it. But a good flat season, but now it's time for the jumps, and we're going to kick on big time. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, thank you to everyone who's been subscribing to the channel. We're certainly rolling on our way to 200 subscribers so far, so that's fantastic. Following us all on Twitter and stuff like that. Some good messages coming through about the series. They've enjoyed it, so hopefully we can carry on that thread tonight. Just a quick one on the obviously I did my book at the start of the series that was raising a lot of money for Hull for Heroes Veterans Charity. I'm going to be donating that money on Friday, the big Chepstow kickoff, and we are currently sat at £300 raised, which is just brilliant. So thank you to everyone who's donated and got a copy of that. And if anybody else wants to donate, just drop me a message on Twitter or drop a comment and I'll get in contact with you. You can have a copy of that for a couple of quid donation. Thank you very much for that. Also, my Patreon's obviously doing pretty well. That's over on Twitter. You can find the link in the bio. We had a 12-1 winner over at Punchestown today, so I'm well over that, well chuffed with that. So thanks for everyone supporting me through that as well. Right, here we go, boys. We're going to kick off, talk about some of the big names. Everyone's going to know pretty much all of these, so we're just going to have a good chat about where we think they're going to go throughout the season and go from there. But I'm going to say it again, boys. The jumps is back. Right, first one on the list. No other place to start with. El Fabiolo for the Mullins team. Boys, the champion chase looks like the target. He obviously won the Arkle in fine fashion, putting John Bont in his place. He's obviously got the two-time champion in Ergumine to go after this time round. I know a few people are touting that he's maybe going to change, but I'm not so sure. Do you think he could put it up to an Ergumine if they do come against each other? Rich, I'll come to you first, and you're in the top left corner.
Yeah, he looks like the one to be on for the Arkle, not the Arkle, the Champion Chase, sorry. All the Arkle winners do tend to have a good record going into the Champion Chase. I know Edwardstone kind of let that down last year, but, usually whoever wins the Arkle tends to do fairly well next year in the Champion Chase, and this lad looks like he's the real deal. So I would be worried if I was an Ergumine, should I say. So, I think this one is Willie Mullins. He's going to win it, just not with the his usual horse.
Yeah, he's pretty much got a decently strong hand in this race. I mean, I'll come to you, Joe. I mean, you've obviously got an Ergumine, the two-time champion. It'd be interesting if they do both go for. I mean, he's won it 2 times. You'd think he'd have to go for a 3rd time. I can't see Willie changing. I know a few people keep mentioning the Ryanair, and they might swap over depending on maybe what's up with Allaho. But do you think they'll come against each other in the Champion Chase?
Yeah, I do, mate. Like you say, I can't see them changing. I think they've sort of not had an easy time of it, but when you look through, I know, obviously, he went to Ireland after Cheltenham. He beat Chacun Pour by 3/4 of a length, who's obviously since been retired. And for me, I know he's won 2 Champion Chases, but I don't think they've been littered with quality. I mean, don't get me wrong, Edwardstone's a great horse, but he's won twice on soft, heavy-ish conditions. Again, Shishkin, the year Shishkin come out, and obviously Edwardstone didn't go a yard in that ground last year. So I think he's definitely open to be taken on. And I think El Fabiolo, is the upcoming star, got a great engine. I think he's the one to be on out the 2 Mullins horses.
Yeah, I probably agree with that, to be honest. I'm in that camp of, I do think he's kind of had 2 easy goes of it at the Champion Chase when it comes to Cheltenham. With Shishkin obviously bombing out, and then Edwardstone, his 2 main rivals when it comes to the race. Although he did win, it kind of came up his ground both times. We had a bit of I mean, I was there the year Shishkin bombed out, and it was a complete monsoon. It just suited Energumene down to the ground, even though we now see that Shishkin can obviously stay further, but the ground just went against him that day. And I think El Fabiolo coming up, I do think he'll try and keep him apart this season. You've got the likes of the Hilly Way that Energumene won last year at a very short odds, so he'd probably go there again. He might come over to the UK maybe for the Clarence House potentially. I don't know. I think El Fabiolo will probably stay over in Ireland, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm surprised if Mullins worries about bringing him over here up to the Championship. I do think Mullins is his main man's going to be El Fabiolo. It will be interesting to see which way Paul Townend goes, but you'd like to think he's got to be an El Fabiolo, surely. It's one of them. It's such a tough one that the horse has been there and done it, but I don't know. I think El Fabiolo is probably going to be the one to go and win. I do love El Fabiolo. I think he's a great horse. I think he's a superstar that hopefully we can get behind this coming season, boys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Lovely. Good start. Right, so the next one, it needs no introduction. Galopin Des Champs. Now, obviously, finished off last season beaten by Fast or Slow, as well as Brave Man's Game getting beat as well. But again, I've mentioned this time and time again across the series. I'm not really sure what sort of substance you take from Punchestown form, especially after a Cheltenham Festival. I think that the Gold Cup was such a brilliant race, and even on our banner you can see Brave Man's Game, Galopin Des Champs jumping the last together. I know you're a massive fan of Brave Man's Game, Rich. You only tell me every day, but do you really think? I mean, is Galopin Des Champs just going to come back fresh and dominate the staying chases again? What do you think? Can Brave Man's Game put it up to him?
I think it's very difficult to win back-to-back Gold Cups. Not many horses have tend to do it. I think Mullins is probably going to campaign him slightly differently this year. I don't think he's going to probably give him as many runs. You might go down the who won it back-to-back for Mullins?
Album
Photo, yes. He only had maybe one prep run, did he usually? Or maybe two?
Yeah, you used to go to Tremor and then go straight to the Gold Cup. I mean, I do think you kind of got the John Durkin. I think he started off last season, so probably go there. He might go for a Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup potentially. I'd say they're probably the only two, and then it'll be straight to Gold Cup. But I do agree with you there. I think there will be lightly campaign. You don't really seem to run them or want to run them too much.
No, I mean, it takes a lot out of horses, so I think he'll want to keep them as fresh as he can. He wasn't very fluent in the Gold Cup. Some of the fences, I thought he was kind of sloppy, but he still won very impressively. But like you say, Punchestown, you could tell how much it takes out of the horses. So I think if he's going to win back-to-backs, he's going to have to be campaigned slightly less than he was.
Yeah, I think it'll be tenderly campaigned, definitely. What about you, Joe? Do you think he can come back and do it again?
Exactly the same, to be honest. And yeah, I do. Like I said, I know a lot of people sort of doubted him at the start. Would he stay? And he turned out to be a bit of a machine, to be honest. I mean, I can't remember the horse. It might have been Statler, who I'm sure took out Manila Indo as well. Fell and hampered them both. And I don't think he got an ideal trip round Galopin Des Champs. I think he was, like Rich said, I don't think he was fluent at some. I don't think he got in a great rhythm. But he comes swinging on round the bend and up the hill. And I thought Brave Man's Game, was going to serve it up to him. And then after the last, he sort of found another gear. Like Richard, I think it's going to be a bit more of a patient and tenderly campaign for him this year. He might go the Tremor route, like you said. But when you look at when he was beat at Punchestown, which I will remind you, do you remember the time when I said, I've got a tip for Fast or Slow? That big shot, do you remember? It was that horse.
Yeah, obviously, and you said, you went, I'm only joking. And he won.
But he still sort of held his form in terms of the others. He still beat Brave Man's Game, albeit by a nose, and he beat Envoy Allen quite comfortably as well by 15 lengths. So I think Fast or Slow obviously didn't have that much racing, didn't race in between the March. So you could say got took there thinking there won't be many runners and we'll pick up some prize money, which they've done. But like I say, yeah, I think he's definitely the one to be on for next year. I can't see any coming out the woodwork. I think this horse is a real machine.
Yeah, I'd agree. And like I said many a time, when you're looking at Punchestown, Aintree, those sort of meetings after Cheltenham, you've got horses going there who didn't go to Cheltenham and they throw out some funny results. Plenty of Cheltenham Festival winners go on to Punchestown and Aintree and get beat. And it's just a case of everything geared towards the big races at Cheltenham. So just to take the substance from that form. I mean, don't get me wrong, Fast or Slow, it's a really good performance from him, but I do think if they were to meet again after a freshen up, I think Galopin would probably put him in his place, to be honest. So I think Galopin Deschamps still the superstar to be on side throughout the season. Fantastic. Right, next one that's going to maybe split opinions, and we're going to talk about the newcomer to the Gold Cup scene and Jerry Colombe for Gordon Elliott. Now, obviously, it was really good last season, unbeaten all the way up to Cheltenham, where he got beaten the Brown Advisory by a fantastic ride on Real Wacker. What a ride that was. I just think it was a fantastic performance. Don't get me wrong, he was staying on all the day, and I was myself on Jerry Colombe, I'm not going to lie, and I was gutted that he didn't quite make it. But he kind of giving me a little bit of sort of champ vibes, can't really jump, but stays really strongly, although he did come out to Aintree and show that he could jump pretty well, but the race wasn't as much quality as the Brown Advisor, I wouldn't have thought. So at all intents and purposes, he should have won that easily, really, and he obviously did. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. Do you think Jerry Colombe can step up into the open graded company now and kick on and potentially be a threat in the Gold Cup, Rich?
Yes, I do. I quite like this lad. I think he's a proper stayer. Like you say, the RSA, I don't think the jockey gave him the best ride. You know, he's only gone down by a short head.
Because a young lad, wasn't it? Was it Gainford who was on board?
Yeah,
It was Russell, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Davey rode him at Aintree and he bolted up by 7 lengths, you know, so I think he would have won the RSA, and I think he'll be suited by the Gold Cup trip. You know, he's the young up-and-coming horse. He's never tackled the Gold Cup, whereas potentially how is Galopin Deschamps going to take it for a second time? We just don't know. Many horses have tried. Only a few have succeeded. But yeah, I think this lad could be a bit of a dark horse. You know, I think he's worth a shot at it anyway.
Yeah, and I think obviously I mentioned there that he didn't really jump too well in the Brown Advisor, but I suppose they are novices; they are entitled to still be learning the trade sort of thing. So he could make the step up. I know a few people have touted the Betfair Chase, that he could see a reappearance in that. I'm not too sure they'll bring him over for that, to be honest. I think there'll be races in Ireland like your Down Royals and places like that where he's going to get good soft ground, but not too taxing for him coming over from here and things like that. But what do you think, Joe? Do you think he can make a step up into the open company against the big boys?
I'm a bit torn, mate, because obviously, although he was, some people say, unlucky in the Brown Advisory and he wanted further, he has won before over 2 Mile 3 and 2 Mile 4 before this. So don't get me wrong, obviously he's come out under Davy Russell and won by 7 lengths. I'm still pretty torn. I'd obviously want to see him this season, how he sort of progressed. I know, well, I believe Elliott was touting him for his Gold Cup horse for this season. So obviously they think he's got the quality, and he sort of showed that at Aintree, but we didn't really see that at Cheltenham. Jordan Gainford on a young lad, you know, he was clearly disappointed as well after the race. He only beaten Brom by 4 lengths that day, and he come out and beaten by 10 at Aintree. So obviously either he has improved or the jockey's giving him a better ride. It will be interesting to say, but I don't think I'll be putting any money on him just yet. I wouldn't be taking that gamble.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one just let him bowl along a little bit and see how he ticks along throughout the season. If I'm going to think back at him, if he comes out in the new season and trots around somewhere and his jumping looks a lot slicker, and you know he looks good, I think it could be a bet. But I do think Galopin Deschamps obviously the one to beat. I would probably have Jerry in front of Brave Man's Game. I know Rich is going to squeal a little bit when I say that, but I do think he's more of a say. Don't get me wrong, Brave Man's Game, he did stay the Gold Cup trip. I just thought Galopin Deschamps stayed it a little bit better, you know what I mean? But I'm not discounting him. But like if we're talking about the season throughout, you talk about a Betfair Chase, you know. I don't think he'd go to a Betfair Chase. I think he'll stay over in Ireland, but we shall see. Obviously, we'll speak about a horse later on who I'm thinking probably going to win the Betfair Chase, but it looks strong on paper, but a lot of them won't turn up, so we'll talk about that shortly. Right, the next one then I'm going to put a mare in here, a mare called Mascada now. It's not Mascara, it's Mascada. And this is the Grand Annual winner from last season. And I think she looks a real talent for Henry de Bromhead. I think he knows what it's like to have a good mare, a good mare chase horse. I think she's probably overpriced. I think you can get around 25 to 1, but I won't talk too much about any post prices. That's for another show. I'm going to come to you, Rich. Obviously, the mare's chase, when we're looking at it now, when the the doubts behind Impervious being injured and will she come back in time and things like this, I think it definitely makes the race look a bit open. I think somebody like Mascara could definitely step up in trip and come into the picture. I think. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's wide open, the Mares Chase. Question marks, is Impervious going to come back? If she comes back in time, is the prep going to be right? Yeah, Mascara, I thought she did well to win at Cheltenham. I mean, she's beat a horse that I do like called Dino Blue, who has come out and won at Fairyhouse and Punchestown after Cheltenham. So I think she's beating a good one there. And I think, yeah, she deserves a chance. Like you say, wide open, the Mares Chase. I still quite like Allegoria de Vassi. I know she got trounced, but every trainer kind of aims for Cheltenham. Any race run after Cheltenham, like Allegoria de Vassi didn't run any sort of race after Cheltenham, but she's got an engine, and there's no, if Imperius doesn't turn up, then I think it'll be between her or Mascara, personally.
That's very interesting. I'm not too sure about Allegoria de Vassi. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hyped her up quite a lot, to be fair. I had probably thought she might beat Impervious, and when she come alongside and they were jumping the last together, you're thinking, here we go, she's just going to kick on now. But the way Impervious stayed on so strongly, I thought she looked absolutely fantastic. And she'd definitely bolt up in the mares again if she's fit, but there's just a big question mark about, I mean, obviously I've mentioned Mascara. Joe, what are your thoughts? Anything else on your mind for the Mares Chase, or are you look at Mascara?
Not really. I mean, I've had a look through Mascara. Obviously won very well at Cheltenham. But the time before that at Leopardstown, didn't jump really with any fluency. Was beaten by about 20 lengths, I think. Albeit over 2 mile 5, come down in trip and sort of served her well. So, she's going to, sort of suit the track, and she's not going to be far away at the finish. For me, it is all about Impervious. If she is back and fit, I think she'll go and win again. She jumps beautifully. She's got the heart and determination to get up that hill and beat anyone. But like you say as well, if that's the case of Mascara not Impervious not making it there or not being fully fit, it does make it a wide open affair, and there is some big prices in there that if you're keen on, I wouldn't go against a little each way bet.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm just sort of quickly looking at the Mares Chase market now, and if there's no Impervious in there, and Allegoria de Vassi is a short price favourite, I'd be taking her on all day long, to be honest, after she obviously got beat last time out, and then again after Cheltenham. And then you're looking at the likes of Instate, Dino Blue. How Dino Blue was in there at 10-1 when Mascara's 25-1, I'm not too sure, but I think the step up with Tripper suit her down to ground, Mascara. So I definitely think she's one to keep on the radar for this season. She'll be campaigned throughout the season tentatively, I think, with a target of the Mares Chase, and I'm really looking forward to her. And hopefully she can step up and have a good crack at it. But again, like I say, I mean, we mentioned Impervious. If she comes back early enough, gets a run into her, she's going to be a big danger. She's a superstar. A lot of people were saying she should maybe take on the boys in like maybe a Ryanair or Gold Cup. I do think she'd probably prefer a Gold Cup trip. I mentioned that once before, but unfortunately she's had a setback, so we'll see what happens to her. But yeah, I like Mascara. Nice one. Next one is Jonbon. Right, now this one's definitely going to split opinions. I put a tweet out today that got some decent traction. A lot of different opinions on Jonbon for Nicky Henderson. Now, he's currently favourite for the Ryanair and probably second, third favourite for the Champion Chase. I don't know. I think they're probably going to campaign him over 2 miles. He's probably going to go for the likes of the Tingle Creek again, the Desert Orchid Chase, those sort of races. And I just think Nicky's going to keep him over 2 miles until he's beat, sort of thing. And if that's just going to be in the Champion Chase, that's probably what's going to happen. I know people think he should step up in trip, which he probably would perform well stepping up in trip for the Ryanair. But when you're talking about if you've only got one horse to beat, sort of thing, if you're thinking Energumene's past it, and you're thinking, well, we've only got El Fabiolo to beat, does Nicky just go for the Champion Chase and how much he likes the Champion Chase? Rich, do you think he's just going to stick that way until he gets beat? And if that's at Cheltenham, so be it.
Yeah, I can see Nicky staying at 2 miles. He's got history with the race. He's trained Sprinter Sacra for the Champion Chase. Shishkin, he's tried the Champion Chase. It's a race I think he likes. And let's face it, Jonbon was beating all the UK horses last year. He's only lost to Constitution Hill and El Fabiolo, two superstars. He's not a bad horse. He's just got beaten by some of the best horses we've seen. So, you know, I can see Nicky just staying at 2 miles, mopping up the division over here. And I think like he wants to retake El Fabiolo on. I think he feels that John Bond didn't show his true running in the Arkle. I don't know. I know people say step up to the Ryanair, but I just feel Nicky wants another shot at him. I can definitely see him staying for the Champion Chase route.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the sort of thing that Nicky's probably going to think about. I think, you know, you're talking about an Arkle, it's novice chasers, anything can sort of happen. Another year under the belt, another year progressing, another year getting a little bit fitter, a bit bigger, a bit stronger. You know, surely you don't just change completely, especially when you've got the brother to Douvan, who was obviously an unbelievable 2 mile chaser. You don't just change the way you go just because of one horse. I mean, I'll come to you, Joe. I mean, El Fabiolo looks a tank, don't get me wrong, but you don't know how fast they're going to progress from novice to open company. So, I mean, if you were Nicky Henderson, would you be taking your chance in a Champion Chase, or would you just sort of fob it off and go for a Ryanair?
I think you've got to go Champion Chase. I think we've seen from Nicky Henderson in the past as well. He's not one for changing or not one for sort of experimenting. You don't see many of his horse in Ireland or, you know, go into races that he hasn't sort of gone before or targeted before. Like you say, and Rich mentioned it there, at Cheltenham he jumped left. And I didn't think he got in a rhythm. I think one of his best attributes before that was sort of getting in a rhythm and just bowling along. And I just didn't think he put his best foot forward that day, although, you know, whether he would have beat El Fabiolo, I still don't think he would. But I still don't think he showed his true colours. And I think, like Rich said there, I think Nicky Henderson thinks the same. And to be fair, I think he will mop up in England. I think there's no doubt about that. It's whether what he does at the end of the season, you know, will he go and take on El Fabiolo? Because to be fair, I think he'd have the beating of Energumene as well on better ground anyway. And like you said, James, he's got the half brother to Douvan. You know, he's won the race before with some big names. So there's no reason really why he should change. Although the Ryanair, if Allaho doesn't go, does look very open. But I don't think the McManus owners are really greedy and they won't be that bothered about the prize money as such when it comes to Cheltenham. I think they'll want more of a legacy Champion Chase. You know, at least we tried it, we give it a go, than running in the Ryanair, absolutely bolting up and thinking, do you know what, we probably could have had a chance against El Fabiolo.
Yeah, and I think it's just you've only got to stand there and think, right, Energumene, the last 2 Champion Chases, the rival to Energumene has bombed out both times, Shishkin, Edwardstone. What's to say that El Fabiolo has a bad day and bombs out, and John Bond's that left there to canter to a Champion Chase win? Do you know what I mean? Like you say, JP ain't bothered about the prize money, so why not just go for it? If he's unbeaten all season and it comes to the Champion Chase, I think you're pretty much nailed on. They're going to go for the Champion Chase because at the end of the day, the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup of the races, the Ryanair was put into to just make up another race, basically. So, I mean, if Allaho comes back to his best, which will obviously be tough, you know, he'd be up there. But I just think the Champion Chase is the race to go for John Bond, and fingers crossed that's where they end up. I mean, when you go back to the last year's Arkle, I was even saying, John Bond's jumping is fantastic. That's the attribute that he's going to use against El Fabiolo. He'll have him off it. He'll have El Fabiolo making mistakes. And like you said there, Joe, it was kind of the opposite to that, and it was the other way around. So yeah, I think he had a bit of an off day, but he'll come back, he'll bounce back, and he'll have another crack, I believe. So we shall see. Brilliant. Right, I'm going to talk about a little bit of forgotten horse since he's been injured since the King George, but La Home Presse will hopefully be making a return at some point this season for Venetia Williams. A really good horse, obviously won the Brown Advisory the year before last. The rehearsal chase was impressive. Obviously, the King George didn't go entirely to plan. I know throughout the whole race, he pretty much jumped out to his left, was giving away lengths, and it was still sort of with Braveman's game coming to the last before he tipped up, although I think that jumping left just took a bit out of him, and Braveman's game was left to win the race. Unfortunately for some of us, obviously not Rich, you'll have been happy that day. But is he going to be a little bit forgotten? Could he bounce back? He's obviously got Cheltenham form. What do you think, Rich? Do you think he could be a little bit of an under the radar style if he comes back from his injury? All right.
Yeah, he's a good horse. It's just one of those. When they get injured, you want to know when they come back, are they the same horse that they once were? Like, we don't know how bad the injury was. He didn't look comfortable in the King George, and Braveman's Game kind of put him in his place. He's probably the second best UK horse we've got behind Braveman's Game, based on that King George, But like you say, his horse has got ability. If he comes back to his best, and he's very dangerous indeed, people forget quite quickly nowadays. And he's an RSA winner back in 2022, and he looked quite decent then. So there's no reason why he can't potentially have a crack at the Gold Cup if he stays fit.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be backing him for a Gold Cup unless you've got maybe a spare free bet. But it's definitely one just to see how he comes back from his injury. If he is all right, and if he is A1, he's definitely a player who could step up into the top division. What about you, George? Do you think he could come back from his injury? I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go and win any sort of big races, but I definitely think he's got talent.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, I mean, before the King George, he looked like arguably the most solid horse, in England in terms of I know Braveman's Game's had his sort of flat tracks, and does he suit certain tracks, and he's sort of coming to his own now. But La Honte Presse before that was just had ones next to his name. I know, obviously, the one before the King George, I think he went to Newcastle and won off 12 stone.
The rehearsal chase, he won it really well, actually. Really well.
He won it pretty comfortably in the end, and off 12 stone on soft ground. That was some going, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is really some horse now." And like you say, before that, he's had ones next to his name, jumped very well, travelled very well. He just didn't look right at all from the get-go. I didn't think in the King George. And like Rich said there, mentality-wise, he might have been injured, but jumping left and just, round a long trip, and you're jumping awkwardly and out to the left, and you just don't seem to get in a rhythm. It does take a lot out here, and I think he was definitely getting swallowed up by Braveman's Game in the King George. I'm sort of on the same line as you. I don't think he's going to come back and set the world alight and ever, rematch Braveman's Game. But I think the horse has talent, and he might pick up some, mid-season races where the field isn't so strong, and he might pop up at a nice price, or get some prize money that way. The grade 2s and the grade 3s.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think you might be right there. I don't think we just obviously need to see him come back from his injury. I'm just trying to get the King George feel up, because I'm going to try and basically say that Braveman's Game won a really weak renewal of the King George, but I haven't got time to get it up. But like I say, I think La Honte Presse, I think if he comes back fit and it's not affecting him too much, he could definitely kick on and win some races somewhere. I think we'll see him trot around a couple of prep runs to get him G'd up for it, and then he might take his chance. We shall see. But yeah, I really liked him before the King George. I know obviously come up lame after, but fingers crossed to put the issues to bed. Right, so the next one I'm going to mention is one that I quite like for a certain race. I'm going to dive into that now, and it's Protectorat for the Skeltons. Now, obviously won the Betfair Chase last year, and then took his chance in the Gold Cup. Didn't quite go to plan, but he still ran with credit. But I thought the Betfair Chase run was pretty exceptional first time out. I believe he'd had a wind up before that. Now, don't get me wrong, when you go through the form of it, and A Plus Tard obviously completely bombed out at 1-2 on, and obviously clearly had his issues throughout the whole season after that. And you got the likes of Frodon in there, Eldorado Allen, and there was one other that's just the name escapes me. Bristol Demai in his last Betfair Chase. So you could say it was a weak one, but he battered him. And I just think Skelton seems to get him absolutely A1 fit, ready to go. And when you're talking about Jerry Colombe, Shishkins in the anti-post market, your Braveman's Games, Braveman's Game's surely not going to go there. You're going to go Charlie Hall again and win that probably easy and use it as a prep run where it's kind of Protectorat's Gold Cup sort of thing. Jerry Colombe, I don't think he'll come over. Shishkin, Nicky seems to be a little bit more patient with his horses, so I don't think that'll be one for him. And you could probably think it's going to cut up quite well, but do you think Protectorat could win the Betfair Chase, Rich, and maybe have another tilt at the Gold Cup?
Depends who turns up. For me, he's not a top horse. If you look back at his form, he was fourth to Ahoy Senior, who is just a nutter. He's not a superstar. Fifth in the Gold Cup. if he runs against Shishki and Braveman's games, Jerry Colom's, he's not getting anywhere near them in my eyes. So it depends who he races against for me. If he races against a weak field, then yeah, sure, he's probably going to bolt up and batter them. But when he gets to the proper sort of races like the King George and the Gold Cups, if he goes to King George, he's just going to get swallowed up by these better horses, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would agree with you. I mean, when you look at the Betfair Chase, it's a little bit like classic prep run for certain horses, but the main target for others. I think it is his main target, and obviously it paid off for him last season. And I just think it's one of them where it's just going to fall into place for him again, to be honest, because I just think it's coming a little bit too soon for certain horses who, you like to Jerry Colomb, Bremer, they're all got big Gold Cup aspirations where really Skelton probably knows that Protectorate's not going to win a Gold Cup. So, I'll come to you, Joe. I mean, are you in agreement with that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've sort of got the same, thoughts as Rich, really, in terms of he's no superstar. And I sort of think this is what La Home Press might end up doing, sort of thing, targeting races that other horses are using it as a prep run type of thing, to like pick up prize money that way and sort of boost the confidence and get some prize money back. Because, like you say, I remember watching the Cotswold Chase, and I said to my cousin, I said, if Protectorate can't win from here, then I don't think he'll win another race, because he was going very, very easily 3 out, I think. And then he just ended up getting completely swallowed up. However, like you said, and I was reading an article today, that Skelton normally has him A1 for this. And he said he's in the same form. He hasn't regressed at all. And it is going to take a good tuned horse to beat him. And the word tuned sort of stuck in my mind there, thinking, they've got him A1 here. And I think they're believing that a semi-fit horse, like a Braveman's Game, or a horse like that who's using this for a prep run, although I don't think Braveman's Game will go here. Horses like that, maybe Shishkin, some others, who are 50% fit, might not be as good on the day. So like I say, we will see, but it will be interesting to see how it cuts up and who's there for the race.
Exactly, mate. I mean, I've took a little bit of 3-1. I think that'll definitely be a lot shorter on the day, but I do think there may be one or two of them will turn up. But like I say, whether they're going to be fully fit, I don't know. And it's one of them where if you're looking for anti-post value, I don't think it's a bad shout, to be fair. Right, so the next slide is we're going to talk about a couple of special mentions for 3 horses. So we're going to talk a little bit about Energumene, Impervious, and the Real Whacker. Now, obviously, we've spoken a little bit about them before, but Energumene, I think personally, my view on him is he'll definitely go for another champion chase. He'll definitely go to try and win 3 in a row. Whether Paul Townend will be on him, I doubt it. I can see him taking off Fabiolo's saddle, and I just think it'll be a decent battle. I do think whether he stays unbeaten or I don't know, but I definitely think he'll take his chance. So, Impervious, hopefully she comes back and she's fit and ready to go, whether it be the second half of the season. And the Real Whacker's an interesting one because obviously he won the Brown Advisory, but a lot of people think that the form would be reversed on a different day, or maybe if you were David Russell on board. But I think this lad's jumping's fantastic, and I just think he could turn up in a Betfair Chase, to be fair, and that might give Protectorate something to worry about with his jumping. But I think it's just one of them. I do like him. I think he'll go well. He'll probably win a couple of races in UK. Whether he's good enough to win a Gold Cup, I'm not too sure. But you do have to jump well to keep that pace going. But it could be a little bit underestimated. So I'll come to you, Rich, on a brief note on these 3, and I might let you mention Braveman's Game if you want. What are your thoughts on these 3, mate?
Yeah, I mean, Energumene is a dual champion chase winner. He's no more, but for me, he's going to go into next year's festival age 10, and I think it might just be one too many. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he absolutely lashed it down and it became soft heavy, I think he'd be very interesting because he's won his past 2 champion chases in those sort of conditions. So it's maybe one I'd play depending on the day, maybe see what the ground's like. But don't get me wrong, he's a good horse, but he's just knocking on a bit now for me. Impervious, again, if she's fit and turns up with a decent prep, she just wins the mare chase, doesn't she? But there's question marks whether or not she'll make it in time. yeah, she's a class horse. And the Real Wacker, you know, I thought he was very lucky to win the RSA, but watching his jumping is just a joy. You know, he bombs off from the front and just jumps every fence. He obviously loves Cheltenham, so that's a big factor. But whether or not it's good enough for the Gold Cup, I mean, I can see him go off from the front and just jumping round, but I think eventually he'll probably get swallowed up by the likes of you Galloping Deschamps, your Braveman's Game, and even Jerry Clom, you know. Braveman's Game, yeah, I think he's in for another good season. I can, like you say, I know Paul Nicholls, I think, mentioned they were looking at the Betfair Chase, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't stick to the same plan, win the Charlie Hall, win the King George, and then potentially win the Gold Cup, you know. I think he's a horse that gets better with age, you know. I think Nicholls kind of likes this one as his next Denman. So, you know, I think I'm looking forward to another season of him, see how he improves.
Yeah, I probably agree with you on all them points, to be honest. I think I'll be very surprised if Nicholls changes anything to do with Braveman's Game's prep. The way, obviously, he has come a good, valiant second to Galloping Deschamps, but if you take Galloping Deschamps he's won the Gold Cup pretty well, so I think the prep will be exactly the same. And I'll just come to you then, Joe, to finish us off on this little section before we give sort of a horse each that we're looking forward to finish us off. But have you got any thoughts on these three, just a special mention?
To be fair, I'm just going to sort of follow in your footsteps, really. I think Energumene, like I said, has won 2, albeit not taken away from him. You know, he's a dual champion chase winner, but for me, he's won 2 ordinary champion chases. And, you know, if you look at them fields without the horses that bombed out in, they're nothing special. You know, I can see El Fabiolo on the day, if it's not heavy ground, going off. For me, anyway, I can see soon as Paul Townend gets jocked up, he's cut to 5-4 and he goes off even money. I really do think this horse is, you know, miles above Energumene. Energumene, for me, looks a bit one-paced at times, you know, and probably does suit the soft to heavy ground. So that's my view on that. Like I say, I think Paul Townend, as soon as he gets jocked up or, you know, talks about it, I think everyone will jump on El Fabiolo and he'll go in a lot shorter. Impervious, love the horse, heart of an absolute lion. Was bought by JP, and I remember the price getting slashed straight away for the mares, and repaid anyone that sort of jumped on. I wasn't on any horse like that day, but I know when Algarida Vassi sort of out-jumped Impervious at the last, and all the favourite backers jumped up, and then Impervious out of nowhere just got herself back together and absolutely smashed up that hill and shut them all up. So for me, if Impervious is fit, will win, but a race will sort of stay away from. And then, like you say, the Real Wacker, brilliant story, great jumper, loves going out from the front. I think would upset Braveman's Game if going. I think Braveman's Game sort of enjoyed it out in front, sort of jumping and just getting rolling. I think Galloping Deschamps will love that as a target. Sit on him right behind, pull out and zoom ahead. But, like I say, Braveman's Game is not one to write off at all, because I could not have him at all going into the Gold Cup last year, and he did surprise me how he got up the hill. So, yeah, I can't wait. Now I'm speaking about it, you know, all these great stories, the Real Wacker, you know, just beating Jerry Colombe last year and stuff like that. I can't wait.
Like I say, you always get some really good stories. I know obviously the flat's decent and we do enjoy it, but just I think the fact that these jump sources, because they go on for so many years, you just get to love them, you get behind them and you get to follow them all the way. And it's just fantastic. But what we're going to do now is just to finish us off sort of thing, we're going to have a little brief chat about the main races at Cheltenham. I'm going to start with the Champion Chase. Now, obviously, El Fabiolo, we probably think he's going to be the one to win. Energumene's in here. I do think John Bon will go away. I do think we'll get the battle again between these two, El Fabio and John Bon. I think it'll be interesting to see which one of them wins. But I suppose we won't spend too long on it because I think we've already really spoken about it. But I think if I were going to pick one right now, mate, I do think I'd be an El Fabiolo. What about you two?
Yeah, you know, we've all kind of discussed it in depth, but I think John Bon goes here. You know, I think he potentially could beat Energumene if Energumene comes over to like Ascot again. But yeah, it's Fabiolo's to lose. For me, it probably depends on the ground. It's been soft, heavy past 2 years. I think that could play a massive factor in this.
Nice, John. If you had to nail your colours to the mast right now, who would it be for Champion Chase?
I would be nailing El Fabiolo, to be honest, mate. I think, to be fair, I would give, if the ground come up good, and I would like to see Edwardstone run this season, but I think Edwardstone would be on the day would be a pretty big price and is one not to be forgotten for me, really. I mean, I know the last day the ground was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And before that, I can't remember, where was it at when Edwardstone had beaten Ergamine?
It was when the thingy race got moved to Cheltenham, innit, where Esprit de Gite, or whatever it was called, won. Just held on, but he battered Ergamine that day.
Yeah, Editor de G. But no, I think coming out the race that day, Tom Cannon was pretty confident that he would go and take an Ergamine at Cheltenham next time out, and obviously ground went against, didn't really happen, didn't travel at all. But if I was to nail one, mate, El Fabiolo should go and batter these.
Fantastic. And then we'll talk about the Ryanair. I've always got John Bond's colours in there, but I kind of put it in there as a bit of an ironic post. I do think he's going to go to the Champion Chase, but I think you're looking at Allaho, Galliard de Mesnil's in there, El Fabio. I mean, all these aren't going to go. I mean, Allaho might turn up, potentially, but there's a few people talking about Banbridge. But again, for Banbridge, for me, is really ground dependent when it comes to this sort of race. I don't think it'll come up good enough for him, to be honest. And then you're going into the likes of Stage Star, who's obviously we're not mentioning him, but he's definitely one who could come into this. The Turner's winner for Nichols. He's a really good horse. And Envoy Allen, I mean, the prep run, well, the first run out for Envoy Allen wouldn't have filled me with much confidence, to be honest. The form that he has first time out is normally pretty good, but he looked pretty well beat, to be honest, but a little bit laboured. I'm interested to see what happens with the Ryanair, but I mean, I'm going to mention a horse shortly when we talk about one that we're going to follow this season for the Ryanair, so I'm not going to really say it right now, but if you had to pick a horse now that you think might win the Ryanair, Rich, who's you thinking of this one?
It's a race I quite actually like, For me, if Allaho is back, I just think the way he races in this Ryanair, I just think nothing can keep up. But like you say, you go through the list. John Bond probably stays Champion Chase. Galliard, I think he's too slow. El Fabiolo, Champion Chase. Banbridge doesn't go here. Shishkin doesn't go here. Stage Star, potentially is the one that might potentially run into a place or has a decent chance. But you got to say, it depends on who gets pulled from the Gold Cup race. Like there's a horse that I'm going to mention that potentially could run here or the Gold Cup. There's a forgotten horse that I do quite like Monkfish was for the Gold Cup, but whether or not he gets diverted to the Ryanair, because it's a bit easier for him. But yeah, it's a race that I like. But if I was going to pick one, it'd be Allaho for me.
Like you, George, I think Allaho can come back fit and take this. I mean, it does look like it's going to cut up massively. So even if he come back 60-70%, he might not take much winning.
No, definitely. Like I say, I think you can rule a few of them out. Obviously El Fabiolo's got to be in the picture, but there's no chance. Champion Chase. John Bond, I think Nicky Henderson's too stubborn. I think he likes, what he likes, and he knows the Champion Chase inside out. He'll be going there. I thought Galliard de Menil, was good at Cheltenham, but I think he was quite lucky with the fall out in front. Banbridge, like you say, is ground dependent. Shishkin, bit hit and miss, could come here and bolt up or could come here and could not make it, Envoy Allen, like you say, wasn't impressed first time out. And Stage Star's a bit, I'd say, covered in glory in terms of, he got out the front last time and jumped well, but got away from them, got an easy lead. Like you say, I think it's going to cut up, and I don't think it's going to take much winning on the day. And, I can see Allaho coming, even if he is 70% fit, coming and winning.
Well, lads, we will soon find out. So we're going to have a quick talk then about the Mares Chase in the Gold Cup. Then we've got a horse each to follow, but we'll just fly over this. I mean, I like Mascada. If Purvis is fit, I think she probably wins it, but I think at a big price. I mean, you've got Apple away in there, who looks pretty good. A lot of murmurs about her being pretty decent. Gallia Delator probably wants bottomless ground, so I'll probably have her out of it. Dino Blue Instinct, can't have Allegory Devassi. No chance. So for me, the value plays Muscada. But quick point of view on this one, lads. Do you think it's Impervious comes back or anything else?
Yeah, it's all if Impervious comes back and she's fit and ready for it, she wins. But if Impervious wasn't in the race last year, then Allegory Devassi would have won that quite easily. So, like Joe said, she jumped the last and looked like she was going to win, but Impervious just kind of battled her, outstayed her. But like I say, if Impervious wasn't there, she would have won. So for me, I still think she's got a good chance.
Interested in you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see Rich's point in a way. I mean, not many horses have come out from Cheltenham, gone to Ireland and performed really well, bettered that performance. And like Rich said there, I really did think Allegory Devassi had the race sort of, in her hands really. And I'd just like to see how she's matured. I feel like, I don't know if it was mentally or whatnot, I don't think she give her all in a way. But, she might have grown up a bit. She might have, strengthened up a bit. I do think if Impervious is fit, comes and wins. However, I think if you are going to have a bet, it's probably from now until, the next couple of months until these horses start coming out. I do think it is an each way bet. I wouldn't put you off Muscada or even a small bet on Apple Away. I really like Apple Away, to be honest.
Certainly going to be a strong division, similar to the Mares Hurdle. I think the Mares divisions are really strong at the moment. Yeah. Right then, lads, so what we're going to do is just to finish it off with a Gold Cup. In one word, who wins, Rich? You're muted.
Good.
It's like your computer new. It's like your computer new, mate.
Yeah, it's Brave Man game for me, it's like the Denman versus Corto Star sort of era, It's very hard to win back-to-back Gold Cups, so I think it could potentially be Brave Man's game's turn.
You don't come in top three. What about you, Joe?
Galopin Des Champs, mate. I think they'll win pretty nicely, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be with Galopin Des Champs. I think I'd give the home press a squeak to follow him home, and maybe Jerry Colomb staying on late after he got a little bit, couple of little jumping errors. But I think that's probably what's going to happen personally. But it's certainly a division that I can't wait to get stuck into. Right, so to finish us off, we've got a horse each to follow. Rich, yours is first, and it's you, Joe. Just a horse we're really excited about, and I'll let you talk about yours. So take it away, Rich.
Yeah, so mine is My Drogo. He's not been seen since December 21. He's had a few injuries and a few setbacks, but, he's a horse that it just looks like he loves to jump a fence. I know they're talking about entering him in the Old Roan at Aintree over 2 miles 3 in the coming months. So it'd be quite interesting to see if that injury's taking his toll and if he's going to be back to his best. But, he's a beautiful jumper, and if it wasn't for that one mistake he had at Cheltenham where he fell, he would have had a near perfect record over hurdles and fences, But Galopin Des Champs also fell in the Turners at Cheltenham, and that just seems to sharpen horses up. So I think we can probably see the old My Drogo back jumping a fence. I think will be a sight to behold, And if he gets through the Old Roan, I think they're going to target the King George. So we'll be taking on my mate Brave Man's game. I think that'll be some sort of a good battle to see. But the question is, does he go to the Ryanair, the Gold Cup, if he stays fit? I know he's 25 for the Ryanair and 50s for the Gold Cup, but for me, he loves to jump a fence. He's a good jumper. If it was me and he stays fit, I'd maybe go for the Ryanair. But the age is going to be, I think he's going to be 9 for that festival. It probably is the right age if he is going to win a Gold Cup. Potentially is the year. But like I say, I just want to see him back to his best. Stay injury free, and just going out and enjoy his jumps.
Love it, mate. I like it. I think if he definitely, like I say, he's had his issues, but if he can come back again, another one coming back, if he retains any of that ability that we saw in those early days, certainly going to be a big player. So we'll see. What about you then, Joe? Off you go.
El Fabiolo, mate. I think he's absolutely bomb-proof, to be honest. Like I say, I was sort of a big John Bond fan. Only beaten by Constitution Hill before this, beaten everything else convincingly. we know Nicky Henderson thinks a lot of Jonbon as well. And I just thought El Fabiolo looked sort of a class above that day. I was waiting for Jonbon to find an extra gear as Paul Townend's sitting there, not making a move and just eating the ground up and making a very quick move past Jonbon. And I think this horse has got a good change of gear as well, which I do like. To be fair, he wasn't the sharpest jumper at Cheltenham either. But I just think his engine and his talent got him through it. I know straight away after that he was cut to 9-4 for the Champion Chase for Cheltenham. He's best priced up 7-4 now. It's very short. It is very short, and I'm not real one to go start saying, "Oh, back a 7-4 for Cheltenham now." Back a 7-4.
I'll start calling you Rich.
Cheltenham now, but for me, as soon as he wins a prep run, and then he is going to win it impressively, and it wouldn't surprise me if they kept them apart, Energumene and El Fabiolo before Cheltenham.
They will, I think.
So you're not going to really get it, El Fabiolo turning up going, right, he's beaten Energumene before, he's 1-3, we know he's going to win, that's it type of thing. But I do think that you will get a clear indication throughout the season, that he's given a better feeling than Energumene, he's clocking better times, he's beating better horses, he's beaten them by further distances. And I think all the markets are short for Cheltenham this year, which is pretty disappointing. But this is one that I would say, if you are thinking of having a bet and you just want like your odd little bets here and there, like £20 a week or so up until Cheltenham, this is one I would be sort of putting money into. But like I say, I am pretty disappointed with the markets as of now. A 7-4 for a horse, some horses don't even turn up.
Yeah, I think in terms of anti-post, it's always going to be a struggle. I mean, and on that note, we are going to have a Cheltenham anti-post show where we try and find some of the value as we go throughout the season. But when you're looking at these main championship races, you're getting short price favourites straight off the bat near enough. They don't even have to do anything, or one thing maybe gets mentioned and suddenly they get shorter.
It's Twitter, isn't it?
It's Twitter. A couple of horses get mentioned on Twitter, or one name gets floated about and suddenly it halves in price before even seeing a fence or a hurdle or whatever. So we're going to try his best to find some value in there. But yeah, nice one, Joe. Looking forward to El Fabiolo. My horse is going to be one for Nichols, and it's going to be Hitman. Now, I quite like this horse. Now, obviously, you've spoken about my Drogo there, Rich, and you sort of mentioned what races you think he's going to go for, and it's pretty much what Hitman went through this season. He went to the All Roan, he went to the Graduation Chase, he went to the King George, although he did pull up in the King George, but he performed pretty well up to that point. And the Denman Chase, he obviously come second to a horse called Sansa, but it was more of just building himself up. Now, I backed him for the Ryanair, and I thought he looked like he was going to win. He was travelling like the best horse, I thought, jumping really well. I'm thinking, he's going to win this, I can't believe it. But he just got a little bit outstayed towards the end, obviously Envoy Allen winning the race. But, it was a 6-year-old in the race that year, and I think he'll come of age a little bit this year, and I'm banking on him maybe kicking on and improving, filling himself out a little bit more. And I think Nichols is going to probably campaign him just a little bit more, not tentatively, but just a little bit more fine-tuned to try and get him ready, probably for a Ryanair. I think he'd probably lap my Drogo, because my Drogo will probably pull up halfway around. But I quite like Hitman, so I'm going to take a punt on him doing well this season. He won a couple of good races last year, and I think he's going to take another chance at the Ryanair. So you wait it here first. Hitman.
No chance.
He's definitely got a chance. I like Hitman.
No, he hasn't.
Right, well, that is it. I'm going to fling back to my first slide, so it looks pretty good, but I don't know what I'm doing now. I'm pressing the wrong button. So, thank you, lads, for that. Obviously, it's been a fantastic series. That brings the series to an end. I've loved every minute talking about it, and to have you lads back on for the last couple of episodes has been fantastic. So, like I say, this goes out. It'll be Wednesday if you've just listened and watched all that. Tomorrow, we do have our first live jump season kickoff podcast where we're going to talk. We're going to be live at 7 o'clock. We're going to live at 7 o'clock every single Thursday, but we'll kick off with Chepstow, the Friday, Saturday meeting, the Persian War, the Silver Trophy, the Veterans Chase. There's all sorts of good races in there. Loads of entries been entered, so we're looking forward to that. I'm just going to get rocking and rolling. You know, we're going to have a live podcast every Thursday night on at 7 o'clock. We're going to have a Cheltenham anti-post show every Monday at 6. That'll be pre-recorded, but that'll be good. We're going to add a selection to our teams every week throughout the season. So we'll see who does best at anti-post betting. And we're just going to recap all the racing and talk about everything. We've got loads of content coming on Twitter, on the podcast. So make sure you follow us all. The Twitters are all along the bottom there. We're on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube, the whole shebang. And just if you enjoy the jumps or enjoy racing in general, make sure you subscribe to us. We've got a load of other little special content coming, but that'll be announced later on down the line, potentially something at the end of this week, but you'll have to wait and see for that. So, is there any final notes from you, lads, before we finish up?
I can't believe the last horse you mentioned to follow is Hitman.
Come on.
End the season on Hitman is just blown my mind. But no, it's been a good mini series, you know. Rolling the jump, let's hope we can have some winners.
What about you, Joe? Final note. Are you ready for the jumps?
I am, mate. Like I say, I do really like the flat, but I think it's sort of, you know, had its time now, and I am quite looking forward to now we're getting onto it, and, you know, you're researching your notes and stuff like that. I am looking forward to it, and well done, James, on raising all that money for charity, I must say.
Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. The Veterans Charity Hull for Heroes, we have just hit £300. If you do want to donate for that, you can do. Just drop me a message. But it'll be finished after Friday. The money's getting donated on Friday. So once I've done that, I won't be raising it anymore. But if you do want to donate, you can find them online. And it's a great cause to do some amazing work. And they help a hell of a lot of people. So I was more than happy to raise a bit of money for them. Right, so we will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Don't be late. And if you've enjoyed the series, please do like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. And thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow night, next time. Thank you very much. And goodbye.
See you later.